Hi, I'm Nathan, and today we're going to talk about a game mechanic in Soul that is one of the most unremarkable mechanics, but is also one of my favorites. When we originally made Soul, we were trying to decide how many cards a character could possess, specifically the number of items, as most other cards were limited already. The issue with having too many cards is if a player has too many, it can end up bogging down the game. So, because of this, we implemented the weight system. Weight of an item was determined by the number listed at the bottom right of the card. The lower the number, the lighter the item, and conversely, the higher the number, the heavier it was. The maximum weight a character could carry was determined by the character's strength stat, plus their endurance, plus a base of 10. If a character was carrying items weighing more than their maximum carrying capacity, the player's movement would drop to 1, allowing them only to move 1 space per turn. As an example, let's say Zichi has 5 strength and 6 endurance. If we add both these numbers together, along with a base of 10, we find that Zichi's carrying capacity is 21, and can hold that much weight. While the system made sense, it ended up being a lot to keep track of. Each time you were to add a new item, a player would have to figure out their carrying capacity, and then count each one of their cards, trying to figure out how much room they have left. Granted, this could have easily been solved by putting these stats on a player's character sheet, but we weren't that smart, and so we settled for a simpler option: having a 10 card limit. This made things go much smoother without any of the calculations. As a sort of unrelated side note, the system also wasn't great due to the fact that the weights were just arbitrary numbers. This meant that it couldn't really be used for role-playing situations, but that's besides the point, and something we'll have to look into for next version. That said, why are we talking about this weight system in the first place, if it ended up just being disregarded? Well, I'm kind of a sucker for mechanics that break expectations and are used in unconventional ways. You see this sometimes in video games. League of Legends has some great examples. For instance, Hecarim gains bonus damage based on his movement speed. Jhin can't use attack speed with the way he attacks, so it's just transferred into additional damage. Or even Soraka, who uses a portion of her maximum health as a resource to heal a target. Plenty of other games have this too. For instance, one of my favorite games, Risk Rain 2, the character Loader gains damage based on her velocity. Or heck, I even have this in Soul. The Mad Scientist's Malpractice ability allows them to either heal with their weapons or deal damage with their healing tools. All that to say, weight ended up finding its way into a few systems that it was never originally created for, defying even my expectations of the mechanic. One example would be the Bayonet item. This item was attached to your ranged weapon, allowing it to do double its weight as melee damage. For example, a light weapon like a smuggler's pistol would only deal 2 damage having a weight of 1, or a heavy machine gun would do 10 damage with a weight of 5. Another was the Merchant's Bribe ability. You were allowed to destroy 1 item and add its weight to the roll. Granted, it could have been more thematic to add the item's price to it, but it'd be hard to balance seeing as some weapons could be as cheap as $100 or expensive as $3,000. But probably my favorite system of all was our dual wielding system. Before this, only a few specified items could be dual wielded. Then I simply thought, what if we use the weight of the weapon to influence the character's rolls? This is what we ended up with. You would take the weight of both weapons, add them together, then subtract them from both your rolls while making each attack. For example, let's say Leon is dual wielding a katana and an arc blade. Both weapons have a weight of 3, so their combined total is 6. He will make 2 dice rolls, 1 for each attack. On each roll he makes, he will subtract 6. There's some slight tweaking to do when we first implemented this, but for the most part, it just worked. Weapons you would expect to be dual wielded, such as pistols and short swords, were already a weight of 1, so they could easily be dual wielded. While still technically possible, but not a good idea, a character could wield a rocket launcher in one hand and a claymore sword in the other, even though it would subtract 13 from each of the rolls. This system allowed for characters to dual wield any weapon they wanted and still keep the game balanced, adding a lot of character diversity for both roleplay and combat. Not to mention, I think it feels more intuitive than most dual wielding systems I've seen. While this is one of my favorite mechanics, we'll see if it ends up making its way into the next version of the game, as it still involves some math, and I'm working on removing as much math as possible, but that's a topic for another day. Hopefully you enjoyed this insight on this random game mechanic. Let me know if you like these short form videos over the longer ones, or vice versa. I thought this was a cool mechanic to discuss, but didn't really merit a larger video. If you want to learn more about the game, or even play it, please check out our website soulrpg.com. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.